Daniel Carter grew up in a small town in Ohio, a place where life moved slowly and dreams often felt smaller than the sky above. The town had one main road, a few grocery stores, a public library that smelled of old books, and a high school that most students attended simply because there was nowhere else to go. Daniel's family lived in a modest house near the railroad tracks. His father worked long hours as a mechanic, and his mother worked part-time at a daycare center. Money was always tight, but love and discipline filled their home. From a young age, Daniel was different. While other kids spent afternoons playing video games or riding bikes, Daniel preferred sitting quietly with a book. He didn't fully understand why, but reading made him feel powerful, as if each page gave him a new way to see the world. His mother noticed this habit early and encouraged it, even when she herself was exhausted after a long day at work. At school, Daniel was not the loudest student, nor the most popular. He was the one teachers relied on to answer difficult questions, the one classmates secretly asked for help before exams. Yet, despite his intelligence, Daniel struggled with confidence. He often felt invisible, as if his dreams were too big for someone like him. In middle school, Daniel met a teacher who would change his life forever. Her name was Mrs. Eleanor Brooks, an English literature teacher with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She had a way of making students feel seen, even those who tried to hide in the back of the classroom. One afternoon, after class, she stopped Daniel as he was packing his bag. "You have a strong voice in your writing," she said. "Have you ever thought about what you want to become?" Daniel shrugged. "I don't know. Something better than this, I guess." Mrs. Brooks smiled gently. "Education can take you anywhere, Daniel. But only if you believe you deserve to go." Those words stayed with him. High school was harder. The pressure to fit in, the fear of failure, and the reality of financial struggle weighed heavily on Daniel. Many of his friends dropped out or lost interest in school, choosing part-time jobs or simply drifting through life. Daniel felt tempted at times to do the same, especially when his father got injured and medical bills started piling up. One evening, Daniel overheard his parents talking in the kitchen. His father mentioned that college might be impossible for them to afford. Daniel lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, feeling a deep ache in his chest. For the first time, he questioned whether education was truly his path or just a dream too expensive to chase. The next day at school, Daniel failed a math test. It wasn't because he didn't know the answers, it was because his mind was elsewhere. When the teacher handed back the paper, Daniel felt embarrassed and defeated. He skipped lunch and went to the library instead. There, among the shelves, he found a book about first-generation college students in America. He read story after story of young people who came from nothing and built something through education. Some failed at first. Some worked multiple jobs. Some nearly gave up. But they all shared one thing: persistence. That evening, Daniel made a quiet promise to himself. He would not quit. During his junior year, Daniel began working part-time at a local grocery store to help his family. He studied late at night, often falling asleep with books still open on his chest. His grades slowly improved, and teachers began noticing his dedication. Mrs. Brooks encouraged him to apply for scholarships, even when Daniel doubted his chances. Senior year arrived faster than expected. College applications were stressful, especially because Daniel had never traveled outside his state. Writing personal statements felt strange. Talking about himself didn't come naturally. But he wrote honestly, about his family, his struggles, his love for learning, and his belief that education could break cycles. Months later, an envelope arrived from a university in California. Daniel opened it with trembling hands. He had been accepted, with partial financial aid. Tears filled his eyes. Leaving home was one of the hardest things Daniel ever did. His mother hugged him tightly at the airport, whispering how proud she was. His father, trying to hide his emotions, simply said, "Make it count." College life was overwhelming. The campus was huge, the students confident, and the expectations high. Daniel felt like an outsider. Many of his classmates came from wealthy families, spoke with ease about internships, and seemed fearless. Daniel, on the other hand, worried constantly about money, grades, and belonging. His first semester was rough. He struggled in advanced classes, felt lonely in crowded dorms, and questioned whether he deserved to be there. One night, after receiving a poor grade on an essay, Daniel sat alone in his room, considering quitting. Instead, he emailed his professor. The professor replied the next morning, inviting Daniel to office hours. That conversation changed everything. The professor didn't criticize him. Instead, he guided him, encouraged him, and reminded him that learning was a process, not a competition. Daniel began seeking help when he needed it. He joined study groups, visited tutors, and slowly found his rhythm. He discovered a passion for education itself, not just learning, but teaching. During his second year, Daniel volunteered as a tutor for underprivileged children in nearby neighborhoods. Working with kids who reminded him of his younger self gave him a sense of purpose. He saw how access to education could transform confidence, ambition, and hope. By graduation, Daniel had not only survived college, he had excelled. He was offered a position in a graduate education program. His parents attended his graduation ceremony, sitting proudly in the crowd. When Daniel's name was called, his mother cried openly, and his father stood to clap longer than anyone else. Years later, Daniel returned to Ohio, not as the uncertain boy he once was, but as an educator. He became a high school teacher in a town much like the one he grew up in. He recognized the quiet students, the ones hiding dreams behind silence. He spoke to them not as an authority figure, but as someone who understood. One afternoon, after class, a student stayed behind. "Do you really think someone like me can make it?" the student asked. Daniel smiled, remembering Mrs. Brooks. "Yes," he said, "through education, you can go anywhere. But first, you have to believe you deserve it." And in that moment, Daniel realized that his journey was never just about escaping his past. It was about returning with knowledge, hope, and the power to change lives, one student at a time.